Hello YouTuber. Last week, I talked about manually assembling a small-scale PCB project at home with my Reflow oven. I'm happy to report that a lot of boards are already performing their jobs at this moment. I didn't use Stencil last time during the process because the components are relatively big so that they can tolerate my freestyle solder paste application process. But the next challenge is how to deal with those fine-tip small components. Now, in this video, I'd like to show you the way of doing it with a stencil. The stencil is fabricated off the image of your solder paste layer in the CAD software. The material could be plastic polymer sheet or stainless steel sheet, and the thickness of that thin material is best to be around 0.1 millimeters. Some PCB manufacturers charge a small fee of creating a stencil for you along with a PCB project order like this. The standard sized stencil cost me just about 15 bucks. If you couldn't find a cheap vendor and you happen to have access to a laser cutter, you can totally make one yourself by cutting a sheet of plastic polymer. To start off, I first taped the PCB to my desk. Look, here's an important tip here. Make sure you fold the tape on one end to make the removal easier. I learned this through a hard lesson. Just imagine how frustrating it would be if you accidentally push the components off their location while struggling to find the edge of tapes. Next is to carefully align the stencil opening with the PCB pads. And again, use tapes to lock the stencil in place. Now, it's time to do the fun part. Squeegee the solder paste. Make sure you firmly press squeegee to spread the paste into the stencil's opening. Multiple passes, or passes through different directions are okay, as long as you press firmly on the stencil. Once it's done, lift the stencil straight up to remove it. Going the straight up direction is important because it prevents ruining the shape of the applied paste. Examine the paste and make sure all pads are well covered with a decent layer of paste. Then comes the most important and somewhat tedious step, placing the components. Be patient, using a steady hand, and sometimes even to hold your breath is likely to help yield a good final placement of all components. Well, all done. Let's remove the tapes and transport the board to the oven.